Okay, how many of you ever heard of a guy named George Land? Ring a bell? Okay. George Land was a biologist, and he actually was an incredibly brilliant man, and he's still alive, I believe. And he wrote a number of books. This was his second book. It's called Breakpoint and Beyond. His first book was called Grow or Die. Grow or Die. And he was looking at what happens when you take something like a living organism of some sort, and what happens, in going through, life process and that sort of thing. And this is what it looked like. And it turned out that what we're about to put on the board here also applied to businesses. So if we look at a business, and let's just say we're starting a business. It's brand new. We're just starting out. And we're coming into being. Does everything go great on day one? You're starting a business. Does everything go great on day one? Sometimes it does. But let's say in general, when you start a business, things don't go perfect on day one. Normally what happens is, and I think most of you, if you looked over, like, say, the first 6 months of starting a business, you'd see that it goes into a bit of a decline, and what happens is we're making tons of mistakes. And eventually we start to realize that, oh gosh, we're making mistakes, so we'll do less of that. And these seem to be working, we'll do more of that, and we make this turn right here. And this is a bad marker. Actually, I have a couple other there I can use, but I'm going to see if I can get through this with this one, and then I'm going to retire it. Okay, and this, George called this the formative stage. And what he said was, if you don't make this turn, you grow or you what? Die. You die. And what is the time when a business is most vulnerable?
First year.
First year. First year, yeah, and this is exactly what happens. If we don't make this turn and start doing more things that are working and less of the things that are not working, we die. And so now we've made the turn, we're through the formative stage, and now we are starting to grow. And this is a time when we're doing the things that are working, and the business is coming in, and I call this the management. That does it. It's out of here. I call this the management is brilliant stage. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to try this. So this is when people, they get their mugs on the cover of Fortune magazine or Inc. magazine, that sort of thing. And what they say is, wow, management is really brilliant. They really know what they're doing. And they are sort of indicating that if you do the same things, then what? You too will be brilliant. So, and this is where all these books come from. The gurus write all the books. You think about, what was the one that, In Search of Excellence? What happened to almost all those companies that were in Search of Excellence? Yeah, they're in the toilet. Well, I wonder why. Well, do we live in a changing environment or a static environment? Changing. Is it changing faster or slower than it used to? Faster. And so in a changing environment, if you stay the same in a changing environment, this is what George said. He said, your success and your brilliance will begin to fade a little bit, and you will start to level out. Now, depending on the speed of change, you could go into a gradual decline, or you could go into a more rapid decline, or this does happen, there's a huge change in the environment, you are unable to adapt to it, and you could just drop off the table. So it turns out that this model, this is called an S-curve, this works for living beings, it works for businesses. If you look at what's the most vulnerable time for a living being coming into existence. Let's say you're on the African plain and you're looking at wildebeest. What's the most vulnerable time for a wildebeest? Newborns. Exactly. And you'll see there's always that drop-off. And when you get down to very, more simple types of organisms, you will see, for instance, it might be millions and millions of offspring, of which only a few survive to adulthood. So again, this is that formative stage. So now, changing environment, we're in decline. So this looks like a trap that you can't get out of. Is there a way out of this trap, do you think?
Sure.
What could we do?
Or no business would ever survive.
Yeah, there actually is a way out of the trap.
Constantly reevaluate where you are and change.
Yeah.
And what's around you.
Yeah. So it turns out that about right here, we have to begin to really think anew. We're no longer brilliant. We no longer have all the answers. We've got to rethink everything. And do we know what we're doing when we're rethinking everything? No, we actually go into another formative stage. And so we're going to start making mistakes. We'll start to decline, and then hopefully we start just like we did here in the formative stage, because this is really another formative stage. We make the turn and we go back into a growth mode. So change in the environment.